Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Kerfuffle showcase. I am delighted today to have Swoop on. Sharon, Damon, welcome to the show. It's really good to have you guys on. You okay?
Morning. Yeah, fine. Good. Thank you. Morning.
Welcome to the pink creature that is Kerfuffle. As you might have noticed, we've gone a little bit over the top, not least with my new background now, which is now just completely taking the mickey in terms of there. Guys, could you just give us a little bit of an overview just to start off with, for those people that don't know the name? Obviously, you're a really big business in your own right, but I think it's fair to say a lot of agents won't know who you are. Could you just give us a bit of an overview just to kick off in terms of so they understand where you're coming from?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Swoop has been trading for just over 2 years now. We're a technology platform. I guess the way to describe us is kind of like as a virtual CFO for businesses, or a moneysupermarket.com for businesses, whichever way you want to look at it. But basically, we're a platform where businesses can integrate their financial information, register, answer a few questions around what they may be looking for, and we then use artificial intelligence and our data matching to match them to solutions in the marketplace. Alongside that, we have some grey-haired people like me that have been in funding since, I was going to say the early 90s, but that makes me feel really old. But I've worked in banks and alternative funders, that kind of thing. And so we kind of have a team of experts that can hold businesses' hands through that process. So we use really, really great technology with some grey-haired experienced people to kind of chaperone people through that process. And we do funding, which includes loans and debt and equity and grants. We also do savings, so we can help look at switching bank accounts and saving money on that, or looking at utilities like energy and all those kind of things, and also a little bit around financial health for SMEs. So we can look at a business and work out a little bit around their credit score or the data points and how they kind of like compare to some of their sector peers and stuff like that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I think so. So basically, you are as you said, a financial resource there, and crucially as well, because many of the businesses, obviously in agency, are SMEs. You're perfectly used to dealing with those type of businesses, aren't you?
Yeah, we deal with lots of different types of business, which is really exciting. But I think where our strength is the relationship with the marketplace. So it's vast, and at one point we had like over 1,000 suppliers on our platform who did debt, equity, savings, all those kind of things, and we manage those, right? So we have conversations with those funders, including the high street banks and some of the other people, and we have strong relationships. So we know that when somebody comes to us, they share information with us. We can look at what they need. We can package the application and get it to the right funder in good time, get good conversion rates and high levels of success, because it's I guess it's a really kind of evolving funding landscape in the current climate, and we've done a really good job, I think, of. If I look back at, I've only been with Swoop for 6 months. If I look back at those last 6 months, the last 4 months have been the best part of my career, because I've had to use all those kind of like experience over the years of being a banker to kind of navigate that funding landscape, work with the funders to kind of like understand a little bit around how they're reacting to changes, and also with our partners on the other side. So we have some strong partnerships with people like the British Chamber of Commerce and Festival of Enterprise, and businesses that are really kind of like helping SMEs navigate these things. And we can educate our partners so they can then educate their clients in terms of what's going on and stuff. So yeah, it's been really, really exciting period for us.
I was going to say, it's what I loved about the website actually there is I encourage everyone to go and have a look at the Swoop website. It doesn't feel like you are looking at a classic financial site. It really feels like it's bringing it to life in a simplistic fashion, rather than hiding behind loads of legalese or 1,000,001 forms and everything else there. It genuinely feels like this is a new solution for the right time. And I'm assuming that's why I think you just said there. Obviously, the last few months have been challenging on all fronts, but unsurprisingly from your point of view, it's been a really busy period, hasn't it?
It's been a crazy period for us. I mean, there's a couple of things on that. We're still a young business, right, as well. So we're experiencing lots of these things that the businesses that register with us feel every day as well. We were lucky enough to get some money from the Banking Competition Remedies Solution. So we were given some money from sort of central government to help create kind of like more digital funding solutions for businesses. So but what that means is that we have to really, really focus on customer journeys and engaging with our clients well. I mean, and just in terms of what's happened with COVID, we were lucky enough that we actually started working from home a week before lockdown. We thought something was happening, and so we decided to take that. We did a business continuity check, believe it or not, on the 12th of March and never came back. So that was quite good. But actually, we also set up a COVID helpline. We set that up, I think it was on the 13th of March, and I was the person that volunteered to man the phone on that weekend. And it was interesting. It ran off the hook. I spent the whole weekend sat in my study answering the phone. And to be honest with you, it was fairly frustrating and a bit scary for the first couple of days because nobody really knew what was going on. We had people, in small coffee shops ringing up saying their livelihood was going to be destroyed and all those kind of things. Yeah. And what we learned during that period of time was that it was about keeping calm, right? Solutions were coming. We knew that the British Business Bank were going to provide some support and the government would provide support. So it was basically just educating people around what that was going to look like. Just to give you some figures, we were probably registering 10 to 20 customers a day prior to COVID. At our peak, we got up to about 180. And we're still kind of running along at somewhere between 100 and 150 a day now. But I think what it enabled us to do by speaking to those customers on the hotline was understand their pain, and I guess really realize what was important to them. And I'll give you an example. I mean, I think it was day 3 where I was approached by a chain of estate agents who banked one of the high street banks. This was after the CBILS, the coronavirus business support loans were issued, and they couldn't get hold of their bank manager. And obviously, they were panicking, really concerned. And what we were able to do, because we had relationships with the high street bank, was to speak to somebody quite senior in the bank and have a conversation about this group and say, look, these people are really panicking, and get the bank to speak to them directly. We helped them structure a proposal, and they were able to secure CBILS. But what this is all around really is around kind of leveraging our knowledge of the marketplace and our experience to help hold people's hands and make it easy for them.
Well, that's great, isn't it? Because that's just leveraging age-old relationships and connections there to make things happen, isn't it?
My black book came in really useful during that period, if I'm honest. I mean, I'm lucky enough to, if I say lucky, I never really set out to be a banker. But I played rugby with a guy who was a banker, and he offered me a job, and I kind of must have had a few beers afterwards or something. I don't know what happened, but I've worked for RBS.
It's not quite the origin story of the Avengers, is it? But it's
no, it's not quite that good. No, I did end up in hospital with 13 stitches in the back of my head, though. But that's a story over a beer, not for now. That's okay. But what I was going to say is, if you've worked in some of these banks, you grow up with people who you kind of go on your career with. You can pick up the phone to them, and banks get a bad rep for some of these things, but they were inundated during that period of time. And actually being able to speak to them and say, look, can you please help this customer out has proved really great for us. And what I'm trying to say about Swoop is, it's not just all about the tech. It's about building those strong relationships with funders and suppliers on our marketplace so that they see us as somebody who's credible. Yeah. They don't just want to see us as a bunch of people with like beards and skinny jeans and stuff like that. They want us to see us as a bunch of people that have experienced some of these things and taught their language as well.
It's a really compelling combination, that though, isn't it? The tech does look, and obviously I know I get all distracted by that, but the tech, it delivers on that classic good thing that tech does, though. It's not just shiny. You can see straight away where the advantages come from using the tech like that. But again, compelling, mix that up with a service like you're offering as well, and those two together are really powerful. Sharan, you obviously welcome back. We're like the mafia. We're dragging you back. You've tried to get out of the property industry, and we're dragging you back in again. So obviously, from somebody who's obviously been in the game from our property industry side of things here, how do you see the obviously Swoop delivering for the estate agents?
Well, I think it's I'm in a unique position here, right? Because I've been dealing with the trials and tribulations with estate agents for a number of years, and I think I can finally be in a position where we can actually add value. I think there's a lot of tech suppliers that, hey, we're creating a problem for you, and then we're going to have that solution. With Swoop, what we're actually doing is we're taking out the headache of finance, right? There's a lot there, and I think as a business owner, you want to focus on what you do best, right? For estate agents, that is bringing new landlords on board, selling more properties. And I think with Swoop, we take the headache out of that, and we take all the noise out of that. We get you to the right sources. I mean, there are 200-300 lenders out there you can go to. You won't know which one's the right one, and you want to make sure that your time is being used valuably. So we kind of take all that headache, we put that aside, we have the relationships, we know the people, and we make sure that your best interests are represented. So I think it's unique because it took me getting out of property to finally be able to properly help estate agents. So I'm really happy about this relationship.
That's great. So again, I'm getting caught up in my whole superheroes thing, but it's like when Batman goes off into the desert to find himself, isn't it? So you're officially now the Swoop Batman, as far as I'm concerned. What I loved about talking to you guys when we obviously had our initial call, because I think it's really important from our point is it's beholden on us. We think at Kerfuffle to do the due diligence, to find those companies that are going to deliver value, that aren't going to tie up our clients in knots. And one of the best things you can possibly do is to give people honest feedback, whether they like it or not. And, there's only one thing more dangerous than not being helpful, and that's just saying yes to everything. One of the things that you spoke about quite eloquently when we were talking was that, look, you do quite a detailed bit of research up front to make sure that you are just able to help these people out, aren't you? So that you can, at the earliest possible stage, say, look, guys, we don't feel, or at least we can say that these particular providers are the ones that are right for you because of X, Y, Z, or even totally, look, being honest, guys, where you are at the moment, this isn't going to work for you. Is that right in terms of that I gleaned that from what you guys are about?
Yeah, I think for me, the way that we operate is that I use the word curate, but that's probably a bit. We basically just get loads of information from the data that's shared with us. So when somebody registers with Swoop, they can integrate their bank accounts, they can integrate their financial accounts, they can upload the key information that we know that every funder is going to want, and from that initial assessment, we will match them to appropriate funders based on some high-level criteria. But we also tier our funders based on credit appetite. Now what that means is, if you look at the range of credit grades across the UK, you have some businesses like the big corporates that are kind of an A, and you have the one-man coffee shop who's just been trading for 3 months that's probably an E. Most of the businesses are in between those things, right? The banks love the A's and the B's because they don't take much risk. And the C's and the D's in between are the ones that I would say historically underserved by the funding market. And we have alternative funders that will fund the whole of that risk spectrum. What's really important is that we use those data points when somebody registers to quite quickly not only match them to a funder, but assess their ability to acquire that funding. Okay. And so some of the technology we use we use a technology called TrueLayer, which gives us bank integrations, and that's really great because some of the new funders will look at 3 to 6 months cash flows based on bank statements. Some of the more traditional companies, the funders look at the financial accounts that register on Companies House and management accounts and all that kind of stuff. But the ability to look at those things and work out whether or not success is going to be inevitable, marginal, or not at all is really, really important because, as I said earlier, we have lots of companies registered with us every day. We have companies from across the UK, every sector, every type, sole traders, big corporates. We have people looking for £10,000. We've got a company at the moment that's looking for £10 million. And what's really interesting is they tend to be, the companies that register with us tend to be, you'd think that there'd be a wide risk, kind of wide range of credit grades and stuff like that. But actually, they tend to be businesses that are fairly established, kind of middle of the road in terms of credit grades. So not high risk or low risk, but kind of middle of the grade, which is great because we've got a lot of funders will do that. And actually the average, the date of birth for the people that register with us and successful is they were born in 1974. So they're a lot older than we thought they would be as well.
Given that that's a year younger than me, I'm feeling bad now. Thank you for that.
I was born in 1970, so I'm not saying a word.
Okay. Yeah, okay. If it doesn't, and I love my tortured analogies, but agents are always obviously looking to reduce the time to sell, everything else there. So one of the key ways about that is just getting the information up front, getting the searches kicked off can have a dramatic effect in terms of that element there. And essentially that's what you're doing, isn't it? Just getting as much of that information up front so that you can make the best decisions early on and not wait for people.
There's nothing, we're a fairly small team using technology and to help facilitate these things. So being able to say no quickly is sometimes the best advice you can give. And so we do credit checks. We do credit checks on the business. We don't do them on the directors. The reason we don't do them on the directors and the personal search is because obviously that leaves a footprint. So we use agencies to look at the credit data that we're provided. We look at the data that's uploaded onto the system. We look at those things and say, actually, based on what we think here, we think this is a deal for either Funding Circle or Barclays or RBS or NatWest or whatever. And what we don't want to do is kind of like I call it the Columbo moments, where we keep going back to somebody and saying, oh, okay, one more thing. That's really annoying, right? So we try and get all that information curated at the first possible point of contact. That enables us to match better and make those credit decisions better. And we have, I have got a couple of people that work with me that are older than me and who are grumpy credit people, but can look at those businesses and know that if they send them to a funder, they're going to be successful. And if they say no, we'll always explain why. So I would say we speak to like 89, 90% of the customers that register with us. The ones we don't speak to are the ones that just go on and open a test account and don't share any information with us or put any requirements on. But we tend to speak to everybody. We have a conversation about what their needs are. We validate those needs. We look at what the information is provided and the matches that are created. And then we just we talk to them about which ones they want to pursue. And it's all about that swift pulling together and packaging of the deal to a certain extent, but also just picking the ones that are going to be successful, because nobody wants to waste time applying for a loan if they're not going to be successful.
So great advice for anybody that does want to look seriously at the Swoop proposition is, if you're going for it, don't just dabble, don't just do what many of us do and set up a trial account. Get that information there, and then your guys can really go to town on the information there, and it's clear you're not being a tire kicker at that stage, isn't it?
Yeah, I think my advice would really be, understand what the business wants. Understand what the business can afford. If you're not sure, then either speak to your accountant or speak to us, and we can probably help you in terms of forecasting, things like that. Make sure there's plenty of wriggle room. Register with Swoop. Share your data if you want to, because it does help. The more insight, and what we've seen, up until COVID, people integrating their accounts was probably less than 10%, but now it's like running between 25 and 30% daily. Because people recognize the more willing they are to share data, the smarter solutions they're going to get. And I think it will become the new norm, actually, where funding institutions and people like us will want more data, and businesses will be keen to share data to show them, how they're trading and stuff like that.
It felt to me like the future, genuinely, when you were going through it, it's just like, this is the way that everything is going to be going. And if somebody does get knocked back initially, is that it, or are you able to, are you able to have a service with them where you can advise what needs to change so that they can get funding, or is literally when they get a knockback, that's it?
Yeah, no, I mean, sorry, Sharon, go on.
I was going to say, we constantly look for options, because lenders have changed their appetites a lot over the last couple of months, right? And new products are always coming up. And so when a new product does come on stream, we go through all of our clients, we look at what's applicable to them, and we re-engage them where their new opportunities come up. So for us, it's always looking out for their best interest.
Okay. And how is it to get the information that to connect these things up? Is it something they're going to have to get on the phone to their accountant, or do they normally have the information readily to hand? How detailed is the information that they need to get access to?
This is the beauty of the open banking and all that stuff. It's literally a click of a button. It can take about 30 seconds to compile all your information. So you can do it the old-fashioned way. You can pull up all the statements, you can get forecasts and stuff, or you could click a button.
A minute, it's that simple that even Simon Whale simple Simon, even I could do it.
100. It's that simple, even I can do it.
Okay, I love those challenges. 90% of our viewers have just realised that that's fine for them. Okay,
I mean, just to pick up on that point, though, we can do it digitally, and we encourage people to do that because it makes our jobs easier. But also, we have a facility where people can just upload their last 2 years' accounts. They can upload PDFs of their forecasts. They can upload management information. Typically, funders are looking for 6 months bank statements as well, which all can be uploaded by PDF. Yeah. What's happened over the last 4 months, I guess, is 90% of the stuff we've looked at has been people coming to us for support on the coronavirus business interruption loan scheme or for bounce back loans. The bounce back loan stuff is fairly simple. Go and talk to your bank. Your bank will probably be very easy to deal with. 7 questions, you get your money. For the people that haven't been successful, they come back to us and we can help them there. On the bounce back is maximum £50,000. That can be eaten up very quickly, as we know in businesses. So we do work with funders that will fund alongside a bounce back loan. Okay. On the coronavirus, the CBILS, the coronavirus business interruption loan scheme, what we've seen is that roughly 50% of the businesses that apply have been successful. There's a whole chunk that haven't been successful. We reach out to those people, and we have alternative people that will fund alongside a CBILS loan. If people have been rejected for CBILS, they'll consider them. What you saw last week was some changes in the legislation and eligibility around CBILS, which we communicated with our whole client base. We emailed them and said, look, things have changed. If you'd like to have a reassess, we'll have a look at it again for you. Send us your latest management accounts. And that was quite a successful campaign for us. We do things like that on a weekly basis. If things do change in the landscape, we communicate with everybody and say, look, do you want to have another look at this? We're happy to have another look at it. And that's quite important, right? Because it is a change in landscape. The CBIL scheme will go dead probably the end of September if it doesn't get extended. Yeah. The bounce back loan scheme runs, I think, till the 4th of November. There's a window of opportunity here for companies to secure that relatively favourable termed funding, and think about what they're going to use that money for. And I think that's probably the most important thing, really, is making sure you put that money to use as opposed just to borrow it because you think you need it. I think that's the important thing.
And they do need that, don't they? I mean, it's never. I think agents, they're fantastic in many ways, but having that longer term vision, that rainy day fund, is not something that has come very natural to many of them. But we were talking about, unfortunately, the old Game of Thrones, winter is coming. For many of those either realistic or glass half empty people, most people I talk to are saying that October, November feels like where, if there is any challenges ahead, that's where it's likely to hit. And so getting your work, getting your prep in place now, even if it's just as a plan B, really is what people should be doing at the moment. And it sounds like it's the end of the year, but that's literally by definition only a few months away now. And so to start working on that now needs to be the advice, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about. I think we're going to talk about opportunities in a minute, but certainly in terms of this unprecedented level of debt that businesses in the UK have taken on. I think when I just saw yesterday, it's about 41 billion or something like that, which is massive, right? Hundreds of thousands of companies taking on debt who may not have taken on debt before. That's going to have to get repaid. Interest will kick in 12 months' time, and repayments will kick in. And one of the things that we're trying to educate people on is to look at their cost base, to look at what they can do to be more effective and efficient, maybe in Q4, maybe in Q1 next year, but to start thinking about those things. So we work with a couple of suppliers on the energy side who can, energy costs at the moment are pretty low. It's the summer, there's oversupply, etc. So, if you do pay bills on electricity and gas, locking some savings now so that will, every penny counts to a certain extent. And even on your bank charges and things like that, there are banks out there that will do really, really good digital propositions. And if you integrate with Swoop, integrate your bank, we'll be able to make some recommendations on who you could potentially bank with. And you don't have to switch your bank either. You can just take out a second bank account and use that more cost-effective bank for some of your more frequent or costly transactions and stuff. And you can save thousands of pounds a year in doing so.
That's really interesting. And you said that customer registrations increased significantly recently. What sort of businesses were contacting you during that time?
Yeah, everything. We've had, as I said, coffee shops, manufacturing businesses. We've had some businesses that have come to us and said, actually, we recognise that COVID is a massive issue for business in the UK, but we want to talk to a funder around a war chest. So can we secure some funding that will enable us to go and buy 3 or 4 businesses over the next 6 months? Yeah. We want to partner with somebody early doors to get that kind of facility agreed, because we recognise there are people that are going to want to probably sell their businesses. They've had enough. There are going to be some businesses that are struggling and actually will be able to negotiate good terms with the vendors. Those kind of things. So we've had those kind of businesses, and they're not few and far between. But out of 100 a day, you probably get 1 or 2 like that. The majority of the businesses that are coming to us now are the people that are saying, right, I've gone through the COVID thing. I'm going back to work. What do I think I need to do differently as a result of COVID to trade? And they can be retail. We get a lot of retail. We get a lot of restaurants, a lot of hotels and things like that. But it's around. My key theme at the moment is having gone through what I would call the kind of the panic survival mode. We're kind of in that striving now, and then hopefully get to a kind of some kind of thriving revival back end of the year, hopefully. But who knows? But I think if you look at the key theme for me is I go on about it all the time is start like trading safely. The businesses that are going to thrive in the future are going to be the ones that make their customers feel safe and their staff feel safe as well. And the ones that invest in their premises now, you go any shop now, they've got perspex up, right? You and I know, I don't know if you've ever had a perspex glass greenhouse, but it doesn't last very long before it starts looking like, yellow, etc., and moldy. So the companies that invest in good, clean, hygienic premises and make their customers feel safe will be the ones that thrive. And also, you know, from a estate agent's point of view, I'm not an expert in estate agency at all, as you know, but you know, we know, and I know that I will only look at a house if it's got a floor plan at the moment, right? That's the way things are. Floor plans are a game changer, weren't they, for estate agents? But actually, I suspect in the future, it'll be more around those virtual walkthroughs. If you haven't got a virtual walkthrough, a virtual video of the property, I'm not going to want to go and see it. And then I guess on the other side of that, from an estate agency point of view, why would you want to invest in time in doing viewings and stuff and the PPE and all those things if you've got tire kickers? Yeah. Right? Yeah, weeding those people out. So I think there's a big opportunity to invest in technology, have the best in class virtual walkthroughs, and I think that will really, really help.
It's interesting what you say as well there, though, that of course, look, this is a large part of what Swoop can help out is obviously if you are you know, having cash flow issues and things like that, but just as importantly, it's for those opportunities, and every market does throw up opportunities there. And what is absolutely true is that mergers and acquisitions market in estate agency is busier than ever at the moment. We know that from the people we talk to. You know, there's a lot of people that would like to be able to get there, pick up some of the opportunities that are at our all-time lows now, but to date they haven't been able to do that, and that's where again you guys can come in, isn't it, to help support that?
Yeah, well, listen, we know it's tough, right? I mean, I live in Worcester, and you know, I think Andrew Grant is like one of the most established estate agents in Worcester. It's been going for years, and that went into admin a few months ago, right? Which is really, really sad. I think I bought my last 3 houses through them as well. So if established business like that is struggling, then it is tough. But you know, the stamp duty changes, a shot in the arm are great. But then how can you capitalize on those things by investing in your business? And I think to answer your question about the kind of businesses that are registering with us now, they're a cross-sector, but they tend to be the ones that have gone through the initial panic and are now thinking about how can I make the most of this opportunity and what do I need to do to capitalize when some of my peer group, I guess, are probably not as ambitious or are not thinking that way. And I think that's quite important. And there are businesses, you know, that are coming to us and saying, actually, I probably want to get ready to exit at some point in the next year or two. I want to secure some funding now. I want to do this, and this to get myself sellable. I want to look at my cost base and I want to make the business look stronger. So how can you help me with those kind of things? So I think, you know, my take of the world at the moment is that there is plenty of capital out there. Yep. Right. There are plenty of government schemes and initiatives, but there are also other people and other providers of funding that are coming to the market now and saying, right, you know, let's pick the winners, let's give them support, let's help them, you know, trade beyond this. And certainly Swoop's in that same stage. You know, I think COVID for us was a great opportunity for us to prove our worth. Yep. You know, it was a bit, you know, unexpected, to be honest with you. And I go back to that Saturday, Sunday, sat at home answering the hotline. But actually, that ability to kind of like speak to customers, help them, get them to register, look at what they need, match it to funding, and keep them abreast of changes in the market, I hope will see us in good stead in the future.
Alex Ferguson used to refer to it as the brown trousers moment, wasn't it? Which I think we all had to face up to it and get through that panic fairly quickly. But actually, companies like yours and indeed agents like yours that did actually, you know, realise what the new landscape looked like and were able to pivot quickly, were able to make, you know, to really deliver for their clients, weren't they? You spoke about, Damon, there just about some of the the support that is there. Could you just detail some of the support that is available out there in the market at the moment?
Yeah, of course I can. Yeah, of course. I mean, most people will be familiar with the grants. You know, the small business grant, which was up to £10,000, and then the hospitality and leisure, where you could go and get £25,000 grant from. And there's also some local authority discretionary grants. Yeah. I think the main two to focus on, I think, are the bounce back loans, which is, you know, go to your high street bank, fill in a form. You can apply for up to £50,000, and we had very little value there, other than speaking to you after you've secured your bounce back loan to make sure it's enough. And then we do this thing called top up funding, where we have numerous funders that will help people top up their bounce back loans. And then it really is, I've talked about it quite a lot, it's the coronavirus business interruption loan scheme. That is the big game in town at the moment, where you have a lot of new funders entering the market, new people being accredited. Initially, it was just the high street banks, then Funding Circle, Market Finance, they came on stream, and now you've got a plethora of alternative funders. You know, there's probably 2 or 3 announced every week who are coming to the market. So you have some invoice financiers that are there, who basically can put C-bills loans against an asset finance. You have some of the unsecured guys that are doing it now. So iWalker have recently come on stream, and they're really, really good at terms of turning things around and quite competitive on price. And so CBILS for me is the thing that, what we're doing with our customers at the moment is saying, right, you may have secured a bounce back loan or your initial panic buy of CBILS. Let's review what you've got, make sure it's enough. Yeah. You can have 2 or 3 different CBILS loans as well on different assets, secured on different assets, things like that. So there are lots of ways to look at these things. But I think for me, there are some people that are caught in this whole zone of their bank still hasn't come back to them as well. So one of the things that we've been really keen to do is work with some of the new banks and see if we can help them develop their CBILS proposition. So we're working very closely with Starling Bank, who have a fantastic digital banking proposition. You have to open an account with them to be eligible for their CBILS product. But we work really closely with those guys. And we only started that partnership about a month ago. And it's been really, really prolific for us in terms of getting deal flow into them, but also their ability to turn deals around. Funding Circle are fantastic. They will get deals done. I mean, I think we had somebody come in on a Friday and had his money by the Wednesday. So these deals can be done very, very quickly. But the market changes every day. And one of the things that we're trying to do is I guess keep people educated, but we don't want to do the hard sell either, right? That's not what Swoop's about. Swoop is about supporting SMEs and actually making sure our technology works and creates that good customer journey for them. Because ultimately we're a technology business that supports SMEs, and we want to do that, not just in the UK, we want to do that in other markets as well. So it is around getting that technology. So we've recently recruited more product people into our team so that they are now working with the SMEs to kind of develop that onboarding proposition. We get a lot of business from advisors. So roughly 700, 800 advisors have registered with Swoop.
Wow.
And that's typically accountants. We have some commercial finance brokers as well, but they're the kind of people that, again, their customers come to them asking them for support and then going, actually, do you know what? I'm going to refer them to Swoop and let Swoop do some of the heavy lifting for us.
And the team internally, how big is Swoop?
Yeah, well, when I joined, I think I was employee number 23.
Okay.
I think that's fine. I think Sharan, you joined the week before me.
Yeah.
You've got seniority. That's great, Sharan. Impressive.
Yeah. He's a week older than me. He's a week older. I actually haven't seen Sharan since March because it's the first time he's shown anyone his hair. So that's pretty good. So I would say we're probably up to roughly, I think, maybe nearly 55, 60 people now.
Yeah, around there.
So, we split the team into the commercial team, which is, kind of like the sales and the customer success and all that kind of stuff. We have a marketing team, we have a product team and a tech team.
Yeah.
And we're investing heavily in technology because what we've recognized is that, what COVID showed is that eligibility for SMEs and understanding all those things, a lot of that can be digitized. So the more of that we do, the better focus we can be on the value-added stuff that we bring to the party.
Right. And in terms of, what advice would you give to businesses at the moment? What do they need to do to get their ship in order?
I think it's probably 3 things. The first thing is have a clear purpose in mind for any funding or anything you may want to do. That's really, really important. And I think then build some headroom and wriggle room into that, because things aren't going to play out how anyone expects. It's going to be a lot different. And we're seeing that, every business is seeing that, things are going to be slightly different. You see it with restaurants that open up and people don't turn up for dinners and stuff like that. They don't turn up for their bookings. It's a crazy world. So I think building some wriggle room, be willing to share your data, look beyond the high street. The most important thing, though, I think, is probably this, what I would call the warts and all. Be very, very open with us about any issues you may have in the business. If there's any skeletons in the closet, anything like that is really useful for us to know, because the worst thing is surprises at the last minute, because that just disappoints everybody.
Just like your doctor, you're a financial doctor, aren't you? It's not going anywhere else, but you need to know everything to be able to make the right
really important. And that helps us not only secure you funding, but it also helps, I guess, as a business, what you don't want to be doing. And we have seen this with a few businesses where they've kind of like gone to every place in town trying to get funding. And there's nothing worse than when you place a deal with a funder and they say, I've seen it 3 or 4 times already. And it's a small world, right? So nobody wants to get that reputation.
Yeah.
And our whole thing is around readiness, funder readiness. Let's get you ready for funding. Let's make sure that when we do present this, you're going to be successful, because you don't want to be seen as that business that's been to everybody and had a no. That's not good. And that comes back to your thing about it. It may be a no now, but what do we need to do to get you ready? And I think the other thing is, when you do go to multiple funders, if they do personal searches, that may impact on your personal credit score as well. So be mindful of those things. Talk to somebody like us who can help you and point you in the right direction and hold your hand through that process. It's really, really important.
Yeah, excellent. And again, it's just try to plan ahead as much as you possibly can do, isn't it? Really, is to get all that right. How long did, just in terms of typical onboarding with yourselves, what should people expect in terms of a timescale from when they make an initial inquiry to uploading their data and stuff to getting the funding through?
Yeah, no. So I guess to register as a business, it typically take you, I think, probably 2 to 3 minutes. It's fairly straightforward. If you integrate your accounts and your bank accounts, maybe a minute more. It's fairly instantaneous. So I do demos quite often, and I think I can probably get it done in less than 2 minutes now. But for a new user, it's probably 3 to 4 minutes in total. That's really important. When somebody registers, they'll get a phone call from the customer success team. We aim to get that done in the same day.
Yeah.
We do prioritize some of the companies. So we will prioritize a company that has integrated all their accounts and has a large number of employees and a large turnover and a large need. Why do we do that? Well, if they've got more employees, they're probably going to be more desperate to pay them. So that was the logic behind that. And if they integrate, we can get the conversation flowing a lot quicker. But we aim to get in contact with the majority of people within 24 hours, and I think we regularly do that. So we monitor that on a daily basis. Then it's really down to the matches and the opportunities that are there, and how soon we can get somebody into a funder. So I think I said to you earlier, we had one funding circle case that came in on a Friday and got their money on the Wednesday. That's kind of not unusual. It's becoming the new norm, but actually typically to get from an application to funding is going to take 2 to 3, maybe to 4 weeks, depending on who that funder is.
So this feels very, very, it feels quick to me. I bank with a tiny little bank called Barclays, and I'm still waiting for the call back, I think, from June when I last made my call. They've had a particularly tough time in terms of doing it. So was that a dynamic as well, that a number of funders just kind of disappeared off the platform, and are they all coming back now, or did they stick with it all?
When I joined Swoop because I've always worked for a funder, I kind of know what it's like to deal with somebody that refers business to you. And so one of the first appointments I made was I recruited a head of marketplace, and that person's job was really to kind of work with the funders to create a reputation for Swoop, so that Swoop was seen as a quality introducer of business. Yeah, and that was probably the best thing I ever did, because what happened on, I think it was March the 23rd or whatever, was a lot of the funders kind of like pulled down the hatches and went, "Oh my God, we haven't got any capital. This is crazy. We don't know what we're going to do." Yeah. And we spent the last 3 or 4 months re-onboarding them. So we've literally gone from having hundreds down to probably a small handful, maybe 10 to 15. We're now growing that weekly. So we're probably onboarding another 10 funders every week. I think my last time I looked, there's 136 products on the marketplace, and that's growing weekly. So
the key point here is, though, that you've got, as well as having these businesses that you do have really good relationships, is you've got as much of the market, maybe not whole of the market, but as much of the market there to give a really varied spread of offerings.
Yeah, and what we do is we're currently going through a process where we're mapping out our customer base. Yep. We're looking at what sectors they're in and what needs they will potentially have, who our funder panel is, and when we have any gaps.
Yeah.
And actually, there are very few and far between gaps now. There was a lot at the beginning of this process. There are a few now where I guess we want to make sure that we're working with people that have got the same kind of cultural fit and ethos as us as well. Yeah. People that are willing to digitize, people who are willing to look after our customers well is really important to us, because, you're not just our customers as well. As I said, we get a majority of our business comes through partnerships, and we have to manage those partnerships quite tightly as well. So we have regular reviews with our partners. We talk a lot about the funding market, because it went from being quite tight to, I would say, that it's highly liquid now. I would say there are lots of funders out there that are proactively reaching out to us for deal flow, which is great. We also have some funders that are now talking to us about bespoke offerings to Swoop customers. Now that's fairly early days, but what that means to me is that Swoop has gone from being like, great, you're a startup, to you're an established business, giving us quality deal flow. We recognize where you are in the market, and we'd like to help you grow. And ultimately, we want to create a marketplace where funders, businesses, advisors, and partners will come, share their details, share offers, and all that kind of stuff. And it's a network within a network to a certain extent. And what I love about some of the funders we work with is that they're kind of in it for the long haul. Yeah, so I don't get this opportunistic feel at all. I get this kind of like partnership thing with them now, where I'm kind of thinking to myself, this feels great. And actually, one of the benefits I want to offer Swoop customers is that we would have a very good success rate of fulfillment with our funders. And there's I call it the swoop stamp, really. If something hits a funder and it's got a swoop stamp on it, I want it to go to the top of the pile as opposed to the bottom of the pile. And I think we're nearly there with that, which is great.
I think it's lovely seeing, some people would recoil in shock, hearing someone in the sort of finance arena talk about the right cultural fit and, finding the right partners and making sure they're aligned with it. But that just comes through so strongly from obviously talking to yourselves now, which is great. But go to, again, I encourage everybody to go to the website. This feels like a company you want to do business with, in terms of that's backed up by, well, look, I'll be honest, we haven't got any on Kerfuffle yet because we're only just launching with you guys, but you have got hundreds and hundreds of very strong reviews, haven't you, out there on your website, on the different platforms as well. And that shows to me that, you are delivering on that key promise that you're talking about.
Yeah, one of our commitments is that, we maintain a really high level of particularly Trustpilot reviews. We're currently, I think, 4.7, heading towards 4.8. We've had a lot of 5-star reviews recently. And then the thing that I pride myself on that is the fact that the team have had to go through that massive development with COVID, right? And throughout that, they've really, really focused on the customer. So when COVID first started, we any deal that came in was looking over for more than funding than £100,000. We had these deal clinics where myself, the customer success manager, and the SME business owner would jump on a call and talk it through, because we recognized that this was really unprecedented times, and there wasn't many people that would do that. It was hard work, and I enjoyed it, but actually, letting down that barrier and is great. Listen, I've worked for banks for a long time, from 1995, I think, up until probably 2015, but I've not been a banker for 5 years. And actually part of the reason why I got out of that was because I'm a bit entrepreneurial, and having that, caring about the customer is really important. I'm not saying banks don't do it, they do a lot better than they used to, but what this has proved is that the relationships, the technology, and you talked about Barclays earlier. Barclays are one of the first banks that we were able to kind of like really, really work with on the CBILS proposition, and they're heavily manual in terms of their process and stuff like that. But they really, really do care. But again, to the point you made earlier is they struggle with volumes.
Yeah,
and it's all about knowing which person to talk to in Barclays to get that deal progressed.
I think they've got me on the special phone number list as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm on that one too, I think.
Damon, I know we only set aside 45 minutes here, so it's fantastic you've obviously been able to talk to us about this. But could you just summarise for everyone again there what Swoop will offer for those people that obviously need to come to you for advice?
Yeah, sure. I mean, what we want to build a strong partnership with you guys, right? It's all about partnerships. It's all about the strength of us, united. I think if people register on our platform, they can. We'll call them. We'll speak to them. We'll offer you a 3 financial health check. What that means is we'll talk about where the business is, how it's performing, what funding it requires. Maybe talk about some options. And hold your hand through that process if that's what you want. It doesn't cost anything to do so. It's a free service.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
To be clear, we get rewarded from the funder. Any funding that we do, they will pay us some kind of commission on that. So there's no cost to the SME. I think the thing I would say is the clock is ticking for this coronavirus CBILS support. That's going to end at the end of September. And actually,
is it set in stone, Damon, just as a matter of interest, or
I wouldn't say it was set in stone. I think that's the initial intent.
Okay.
Whether or not these things tend to change, as you know, we saw changes to the criteria last week where up until today or tomorrow, actually, any business that was considered an undertaking in difficulty up until December 19 was considered to be uneligible for CBILS. So you had to demonstrate you hadn't got lots of historic losses in the business and all that kind of stuff. You had a sustainable business. You still need to demonstrate that you can service debt and are going to be profitable in the future, etc. But actually, the undertaking in difficulty thing was removed last week for companies that turn over under 9 million, have less than 50 employees. So that does mean that some people that were previously ineligible are now eligible for CBILS. And actually, what we've seen in July and August is, the market has quieted a little bit. So we people are going on holiday, all that pent up demand. Obviously, they're not going to Spain anymore, but all those kind of things. That is a good time for a review, right? If you're thinking about have you done the right thing, or is there any other options for you? I would say August is probably the time to be thinking about it, because if it does stop in September, the end of September, talking to us in August means we've got a chance to get you through the process and funded by September.
So, like in all things, look, just try and do it before it becomes an issue, isn't it? Is because by the time you're in the sticky stuff, it's a little bit too late for everything. There's likely to be a lot of other people there again, and as he said, you've got to get everything lined up right to make sure that you're going to have the best chance of success.
Now's the time to do it. It really, really is. And I think the companies that are going to thrive in the future will be the ones that make the most of this government support that's available and use that money wisely, either to make their business safer for their customers and their staff, acquire some competitors, or actually work out a really good exit strategy and make themselves sellable. I think that's probably the three things that I would say.
The lovely thing is, it's at any stage of the business you're at, isn't it? If you're in that growth phase, you're looking for acquisitions. If you've hit a bit of the mature stage, as we said, there's a cash flow issue because of all the issues we've got here, or you're looking for that eventual exit, Swoop can support you at each stage of that, no matter what it's about, isn't it? And I'm guessing just on that basis, I know you're a relatively new company, but you'll be experiencing clients that come back multiple times for you, won't they, over the lifetime of the business?
Yeah, we're just seeing that happen where people are coming back to us the second, third, fourth loan, which is great. But also coming back to us and saying, actually, look, we've got some other people that we work with who we want to refer to you. Referrals is a big part of our business now, and we're just getting that reputation, which is great. It takes a bit of time to do that, and we're not perfect 100% of the time. But I think hopefully that comes across is we're quite happy to put our hands up and say, look, we could do better here or whatever. And I think, just going back to that initial kickoff with COVID and things like that, we learned a lot during that period, as every business did. And it was bloody tough. And it was really, really tough. And I don't want to go through that again. But I think what we need to recognize is that it's not going to go away either. And so not in the short term. So we just need to, I think we're well prepared for the future. We're open for business. We've got lots of liquidity, lots of people wanting to lend money on our platform, lots of business coming to our platform. I'm hopeful, feeling quite positive about the future, really. So it's great.
Great stuff. Well, look, as we said, thank you very much for offering that, as we said. So just to reiterate, free business health check for all Kerfuffle members there. Go and have a look at the Swoop page on the Kerfuffle website there. There's an I'm interested inquire button there. If you click on that, we'll pass that on to Sharon, and obviously you'll be able to then point them in the right direction, won't you? And we'll obviously stay in contact over the coming weeks and months, to obviously, if that's okay with you, just to see how the outlook is looking at the moment as well. That'd be really useful, I think, there, guys. Thank you very much, Damon. Sharon, thank you very much for joining us today, and hopefully we can send you some business.
It's brilliant to see you again, Simon. Take care. All the best.
Thank you.